This video will be helpful to OutsideView end users as well as enterprise supervisors. We are going to cover how to remap keys in OutsideView. This is done through a module of OutsideView called the key mapper, which permits assigning the content of keyboard keystrokes and restoring those within individual session files. That content can include pre-assigned functions like an F1 key or a transmit start of header. It can include macros or .NET API built executables, or it can include simply strings of text. In order to access the key mapper, you would need to start OutsideView, open a session, and select Session Settings, Keyboard Map. Let's do that now. So here I am in OutsideView, and I have up a single session named SSH. To get to the key mapper, I would go to Session Settings, Keyboard Map. Before we go there, though, I want to comment about one other area. In the session, this particular session, you'll see that Enable Menu Keys has shortcuts checked on. What that is that the Windows operating system can take speed keys. It's like Control plus something is a shortcut to Windows. So what we are saying by having shortcuts checked on is that any key combination starting with Control then plus other keystrokes will be sent to the operating system and not to OutsideView and to the host. The same thing is true over here in mnemonics, except it refers to Alt key plus subsequent keys. So in this case, we have Alt plus key combinations will go to the host because mnemonics are not checked, and shortcuts or Control plus keystrokes will go to the operating system. That's the default. You can change it as you wish. For now, let's leave it as it's defaulted to. So now when we go to the keyboard map, we click here. We get a dialog where we could select from multiple keyboard maps if we had them, but so far we only have the base or default keyboard map. So let's create a new one. I click on New. What comes up is a representation of the keyboard itself plus a list of the content of the keys. And these are movable, resizable images. The way that the key mapper works is that you pick a key off the keyboard and drag it over to the mapping. If you want to modify it, like having it be a shifted Y, you would touch the shift on your actual keyboard, which I'm going to do now, and you'll see that that's marked. And now if I drag the Y over, it would be a shifted Y. Or I could hold down the Control key and drag over Control Y. Or I could hold Control and Shift and drag over the Y, as an example. In this case, let's show how we would assign something. It's as easy as dropping it onto a function. For instance, if I wanted the backspace key, not modified or shifted or anything like that, to become the transmit ACK, all I'd have to do is drag and drop it. However, that key, the backspace key, is already mapped to the item currently displayed, which happens to be the backspace. And that makes a lot of sense. So I can acknowledge the error message. I can look at any of these and see that, yes, the function backspace is mapped to the keystroke backspace or to the keystroke combination shift plus backspace, or a Control H would normally do a backspace. However, because control sequences are sent to the operating system as a shortcut, they won't in this particular session file. So what have we learned? This is a list of predefined functions, including things like tandem F1, tab clear, tab back, and you can see what keystrokes are assigned to the function by clicking on the plus. If for any reason you wanted to delete some of these default assignments, it's as simple as going to the keystroke itself, highlighting it, and pressing the delete key on your keyboard. So now the tandem F2 is a function that has no keystroke assigned to it. So I'm just going to reassign F2 to the tandem F2 function, as you see here. Assigning or reassigning function keys to keystroke combinations is fairly intuitive, I think. I will point out over here that you can have separate left and right modifiers. So you could have left shift and a key versus right shifted key and a key. And those are different assignments. However, let's leave the function keys and move on to the next type of content we can assign to keys. That would be macros. When we select the Macro tab for the key mapper, we get a list of either OutsideView Visual Com Basic macros or executable programs. Let me show you first where this list is coming from. I'll exit the key mapper real quickly. And you can go View, Configuration Data folder, where you see your local storage, and it is the content of the macro folder that is then listed when we go Session Settings, Keyboard Map, New One, and look for available macros. So now to assign a key combination that will call one of these macros or programs is very simple. I'm going to select Alt-Shift on my keyboard, as you see here, and I'm going to take the F12, drag and drop it to this example program, and that's it. From now on, in my new keyboard map, if I were to press Shift-Alt-F12, it would invoke this example program. I will caution you that these are not any executable, but should be .NET API invoked executables created through OutsideView. Let's move on and look at a sequence. How can we map a keystroke sequence to a key combination? Defining key sequences is a little bit different than the previous functions we've looked at, because the functions existed, or the macro or the executable existed. But when we're defining sequences, first we have to define the sequence itself, and then we have to assign a key to it. So let's go in and make a key sequence. I'm just going to type in hello everyone. That is our first sequence, and I drag the sequence over to here. So now the sequence exists, and the next step, obviously, is to assign a key combination to it. I'm going to choose Alt-Shift-F10. So now Alt-Shift-F10 should invoke sequence 0, which says hello everyone. So let's say OK. You'll see that this has become a new key map known as tandem key map number 1, and I will save it. So now Alt-Shift-F10 does a hello everyone. So now, what happens if I want to have these new key definitions applied to other sessions? Do I have to go to each session and redefine this over and over again? Of course not. What we can do is we'll take this session file and go File, Save Session, and OutsideView says the key map has been modified. Would you like to save the changes? I say yes. It comes up and offers a default name for this new key map. I could make it anything I want, but I'm going to save it by the default name. So now that key map exists as a discrete component. So I can go open up any session, and when that session comes up, I'll just go Session, Session Settings, Keyboard Map, and tell this one to use the new key map. OK. And now an Alt-Shift-F10 says hello everyone in this session as well. I hope this video has shown you how easy it is to use the key mapper within OutsideView to either assign specific key strokes to embedded functions like the tandem F1 or the start of header or whatever, or to assign specific keystrokes that will call a macro or an executable, or that will contain textual strings. Thank you.